why can't we lower the goal to at least 9.5 feet? Because I think for somebody that don't watch WNBA basketball, to have women dunking on other women would definitely bring more excitement to that game.
You know, I've been playing basketball on a 10-foot hoop my whole life. So to move it to 9.5, it's going to take a long time to get used to that. And then also, like, we're only playing basketball to dunk? Like, I'm not sure.
No, you playing to...
Like, you just want to see me dunk on somebody? Like, I don't know.
She should be a household name. She
should be.
Yeah. And she's not. Because that's, you know, and the sport is falling down, not using her more because of her resume. You know, I can't think of, I'm sure there are, but other than someone who played back on those wooden teams for UCLA, I don't know of any college player, man or woman, who's had the type of career she had coming out of college.
Man, 4 national championships.
Right.
4 most outstanding players of the tournament. 4 national players of the year.
Yeah, that's Kareem, Bill Walton stuff.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah.
And she needs, and so I don't understand why they don't use her more.
It's the sexuality. It's the sexuality part. Yeah. And that's a shame. And it ticks me off because they tried that initially with women's basketball, having them wear these tight uniforms, lowering the rim to 9.5 feet. Stop insulting the game. You got these women out here balling. Paige, Asia, Kelsey, Brianna. You got these women out here balling. And you guys want to worry about the sexuality. If you show that these women are just straight up balling, if you show them playing a game, because I watch the games and show my son how these women are focused on the fundamentals.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. That's why I like the game so much because I tell people when they're asking me, well, why do you like women's basketball? You know, what is all this about? And I'm like, because for me, with men's basketball, there's certain things that you just can't. It's just like some people are just physically gifted and can jump over the whole gym, or they're 7'5" or whatever. Women are more equal as far as their physical abilities. So they have to play fundamentals. You can't say, all right, you clear out. They do clear outs, but I'm saying they don't say clear out here. You just take it and slam on the whole team. You can't do that with women's basketball. A lot of times, you have to use your running plays and you're playing more. It's a more fundamental game. I enjoy seeing that game.
But you know what? I look at Candace Parker when she came in. She's probably about one of the closest that will take you off the dribble, mid-range. She's probably the closest that can actually do that. There are a couple, Cheryl Miller did that.
Right. That's what I was going the clip I was going to send you was of Coop talking about, because she played with Cheryl Miller at USC.
Yeah.
And she was saying how when she was at USC, she thought she was like it.
She was up here and I was down here. So I'm like, yo, listen, I thought I was the greatest. I thought I had it. Like I was it.
She was, she grew up in Watts. She was like, ain't nobody coming in here doing anything. I'm it. And she said she saw Cheryl Miller and she was like, I got to get better.
And then we have our first practice. And I say, shit. Dang, Coop, you got to get better.
Right, she's like the truth. And Cheryl Miller was the first woman, I would say, that woman's basketball player that I took note of because I saw her come across the lane one-handed with a finger roll like Julius Erving. And that's what it reminded me of. And I had never seen that.
She kicked her brother's ass on a regular basis, And what, Reggie's one of the top 75 players of all time? Anyway, man, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to the WNBA later because we got a lot other things I want to kind of touch on this morning real quick. I want to ask you what the F is up with Jake Tapper. What is going on with that guy? I found out that he was going to be on Kimmel and he got canceled, and initially they didn't say why. But when I found out what Tapper did, I was like, that's why.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that, about the cancellation. I do know, I mean, because of his book. Is that why?
Yeah. I
Well,
believe that the cancellation happened because of that on
well,
Jimmy
because
Kimmel.
of the cancer diagnosis after the book came out. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, well,
Right.
that's just bad. That's bad timing on his part. I mean, actually, unless you're talking about something else, it's just kind of unfortunate as a journalist for the timing was unfortunate because I do believe that while it might not be the most constructive thing for our democracy right now to be dancing on, to be slamming Joe Biden, I
Right.
do believe that there are some, there were some definite issues there. And I'm very I get upset now because we live in a time when it's like, we don't care what you see. We're going to tell you something completely different. And we're just going to keep on telling you something different until you believe it. And
That's true.
that bothers me. I mean, I was a Biden, if I'm being like, I try to be as honest and transparent as possible. Back in 2008, during the primaries, before Obama won Iowa, I was a Biden guy because I didn't know a whole lot about Barack Obama, number one. And number two, I didn't think he could win because he's black. That's why.
Right.
Period. It had nothing to do with his qualifications or abilities. And so then when he won Iowa, I was like, oh, let me check this guy out. And then the rest was history. But, I like Joe Biden. He's got faults, but I like him for the most part. But, dude, you can't be in there in the presidency with right now at this time and try to bullshit your way back to another term.
Well, you know what? Everything you're saying is right, and I agree. However, I look at what they did with Biden as, well, what's alleged by Tapper in his book in terms of hiding his decline, his physical and mental decline. Okay, that's fine. But the people that are around him that are hiding it did good shit. They kept the country going. It wasn't a situation where you look at somebody like Christy Nome, who doesn't even understand what habeas corpus is. And also, the people around this orange guy are totally incompetent. They have weakened us as our national security on so many levels, weakened our economy. And then yesterday, South African president is visiting the White House, and this dude tries to put propaganda out there. And the whole thing about the genocide.
President Trump ambushing the president of South Africa. The president of South Africa there to talk trade and to try to reset relations between the U.S. and South Africa. President Trump at one point calling for the lights to be dimmed and playing a video, and then showing a stack of papers that he said were articles proving a white genocide. The president of South Africa denying the unsubstantiated claims, at one point saying to President Trump, "I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you."
I know you're probably just as pissed as I was about that.
Well, I'm pissed off that we have there are enough American voters and people around this particular president that feel comfortable, I guess, having a president that gets his information off of the internet. That blows my mind. Right. This guy, even during before his presidency, during his first term, and obviously right now, this guy has made his career echoing and repeating stuff that he gets off of the internet from sources that are BS.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand. It makes it, not only has it screwed our country up, but it makes us look like idiots worldwide.
It really does. It does make us look like idiots. It makes us look like idiots when you have those people who are voting for him, and now they're saying, well, I didn't know he was going to do that. I didn't know he was going to do that. No, what you did was you ignored all the other crap because you were so concerned with that thing about owning the libs, or just you heard what you wanted to hear because you're saying, I'm just like him. I'm just, as much as a bigot and a racist as him. He would never do that to us. What they don't understand is that you ain't in the 1%. He don't give a damn about you. The guy says, he tells you what he thinks. He says, I don't need your vote anymore.
Well, look, they just passed a budget that's going to cut Medicare
and Medicaid
and some SNAP and food stamps, some food stamp stuff. So, he doesn't care now.
Yeah,
they put him in that position.
But not to mention that they're raising taxes as well. So everybody else is going to be losing money, and then everybody in the wealthy section of this country, the 1%, are going to be gaining. It's mind-boggling that you got people so obsessed with protesting the White House because of the atrocities in Gaza. Understand that. But you got to have priorities in place. You got to understand. You got to use critical thinking. And that's why they don't want it, because if you actually think on it, it would make sense. It never made sense to me why people would vote for someone instituted a Muslim ban. Why would you vote for somebody who's already shown he doesn't give a damn about the people that you're fighting for? That pisses me off.
Well, I think it is because my little theory about Trump, which isn't a theory, I mean, that's what he does, I think, is he understands. I don't like to give him too much credit, but because I think he's kind of an idiot savant in an evil way. But he's like Satan, if there is a Satan. Satan or evil understands your weakness or what you're going to latch onto and puts that out in front of you. So what he did is put a lot of red meat out there, and he fed into the latent and subtle, under the surface racism and sexism and xenophobic nature and homophobic nature, actually, of this country. And people, and he put that balled all that up into make America great again. And whether we want to, as Americans, admit it or not, I think we understand it, that there is a burning nostalgia within the majority demographic of this country, mostly, that just does not feel comfortable with actually what this country is supposed to be all about.